Yeah, welcome to the Progressive Rock and Roll Music Show, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. How you guys doing? I think people have been doing a good job recently the past few years of finding ways to challenge our most advanced students. As far as the shows we're doing, Progressive Rock's the one that we can always go back to when we want to just throw something that's just way too difficult at them and be like, all right, let's see what you got. So we got a lot of talent on stage tonight, and a lot of seniors in the show as well, which might be introducing to you here and there. But yeah, really action-packed show. So let's go, enjoy. Are there drums? Okay, let's hear for Henry Grimmy on the guitar. If you like to see guitar players play fast, I think you came to the right show. Yeah, I don't know, Stevie Wonder's not usually prog, but we can dip into like sort of the jazz fusion department a little bit here. Actually, with this next song too, this is a song called Everybody Plays the Same Thing Fast at the Same Time. This is Matt Kyoto on drums back here. He's a senior. Matt, I think we're both like really psyched about you getting to play this song. I've never heard you play anything quite like this, and you really rose to the challenge, so all right.
breaks the silence as we all kneel, pray for guidance. streets of the city, homely specters still have their tea. Patient cues for the gallows sing the praises of the hallowed. Hum machines feed the furnace if they take across their word.
James Latorio one more time, everybody. We're going to do a song that I think is by far the most modern song in the show. I think it's from 2003. It's by a band called the Mars Volta. You can really hear the difference in this one. It's just from a totally different time and place altogether. Let's move over. Dylan Desai on the guitar. Okay, we're gonna do a song from a Genesis album that I think is extremely underrated. Trigger the Tail's the name of the album. And it was really brutal trying to choose which one to do, but I think it's a Prog show, so we should do kind of a showcasey one, just a whirlwind of instrumentals. Got both of the Jameses back there on keyboards. And Finn Derby on drums, who's really holding a lot of really important parts of the show together here. Thanks so much.
Whatever. Tell a joke.
Prancing, you caught the guards unaware. Slipping between them, you're too seen them. The eyes of the owner so near. Torch shining bright, he's too gone in the night. Who came to the room with the safe? Hello, son, I hope you're having fun. You got it wrong, sir. I'm only the cleaner. The other saying as he died, you've done me wrong. It's the same old song forever, forever. Assaulted battery, better than his felony. Assaulted battery, better than his felony. Diamonds and bundles of fibers, push them well down the sack. The alarm had been sounded, he was completely surrounded, but he had more tricks up his sleeve. Come outside with your hands held high. You don't get me alive, sir. Well, I promise you that, sir. With that team fight, the other saying as he died, you've done me wrong. It's the same old song. bitch and he never texts me. But I told that day I'll ride the old crying wave. If they try to hold me for trial, I'll stay out of jail by paying my bail. And after I'll go to the court of appeals, and you've done me wrong, it's the same old song forever. Done me wrong, done me wrong, done me wrong, done me wrong, done me wrong.
again. How about Mac here on drums once again? We actually have another Emerson, Lake and Palmer song for you. We're going to try to do it authentically with just 3 people. So this is Cameron Legel, so he's going to do your Great Lake impression for you. And then 3-time All-Star James Kerwin over there. We don't do that much ELP music that often because honestly, it's just really, 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 really hard, and you need a ton of James Kerwin to do the trick.
What's that?
you guys remember that first song? What do you think about that? Was that a good song? Okay, so we're gonna do another song by that same band. Only catch is it's completely different. By the window pane, like the rain that's falling, she waits in the air, but take good aside. She sleeps in a chair in a sad America. When was the night so long? Oh, like the notes I'm sending, she waits in the air, but take who decide. She sleeps in a chair in a sad America. She waits in the air, but take good decide. She
sunrise. Short distance. How can the wind with so many around me, lost in the city?
I am, in fact, committed to the bit.
Sorry.
Dreamed I was an Eskimo. The frozen winds began to blow. My boots sit around my toes. The frost that bit the ground below. 100 degrees below zero. And my mama cried. And my mama cried. I'll save your money, don't go to the show. Well, I turned around and I said, oh, oh, oh. Well, I turned around and I said, oh, oh, oh. Well, I turned around and I said, oh, oh. And the northern lights commenced to glow. She said, with a different eye, watch out where the huskies go, don't you eat that yellow snow. Watch out where the huskies go, don't you eat that yellow snow. Right about that time, people, a fur trapper who was strictly from commercial had the unmitigated audacity to jump up from right behind my igloo. Peekaboo. And he started to whip on my favorite babysitter with a lead-filled snowshoe. I said, with a lead-filled snowshoe. He said, peekaboo. With a lead-filled snowshoe. He said, peekaboo. He went right upside the head of my favorite baby. See, he went whack with a lead-filled snowshoe. And he hit him on the nose and hit him on the fin. And that got me just about as evil as an Eskimo boy could be. So I bent down and I reached down and I scooped down and I gathered up a generous mittful of the deadly yellow snow. The deadly yellow snow from right there where the huskies go. Whereupon I proceeded to take that generous mittful of the deadly yellow snow crystals, rub it all into his beautiful lives with a vigorous circular motion. Hitherto unknown to the people of this area, but destined to take the place of the much darker near mythology. Here it goes now, people, a circular motion. Rub it! In a fit of anger, I pounced. And pounced again. I jumped up and down the chest of her. I injured the bird trapper. Well, he was very upset, as you can understand. Rightly so, because the deadly snow crystals had deprived him of
lovely sight. He stood up and he looked around. He said, I can't see. Go, 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 go. Yes. Snow cone and stuffed it in my right eye. He took a down to snow cone and stuffed it in my other eye. And the husky wee wee and the doggy wee wee's blinded me, and I can't see temporarily. When the fruit trapper stood there with his arms outstretched across the frozen white wasteland, trying to figure out what he's going to do about his deflected eyes. And it was at that precise moment that he remembered an ancient Eskimo legend, whereupon it is written on whatever it is that they write it on up there, that if anything bad ever happens to your eyes as a result of some sort of conflict with anyone named Nanook, the only way you can get it fixed up is to go trudging across the tundra, mile after mile, trudging across the tundra, right down to the parish of St. Alfonso. St. Alfonso's pancake breakfast, where I stole the margarine and whittled on the bingo cards in lieu of the tree. I saw a handsome parish lady make her entrance like a queen, but she was totally shitty and her old man was a marine. As she abused the sausage patty, she said, why don't you treat me mean? At St. Alfonso's pancake breakfast, get off the bus, where I stole the margarine. the block. Down in this open school that comes spiritual duo. Please don't you be my sweet baby. It's just what safety I'm
Oh, everybody still here? Somebody is singing about pancakes and then the hardest keyboard part you've ever heard in your life comes out of nowhere. You're probably listening to a Frank Zappa song. Okay, one more King Crimson song, last one I promise. This is called Neil and Jack and Me. I absolutely love the way the recording of this song sounds. Henry Greenway's going to play the guitar for you. The guitarist did a great job with the song.
Studebaker coupe. I'm wheels. all that you have been due to my hand. It can change, it can stay the same. I will say, I will make my claim. Situation we are in at this time neither a good one nor is it so unblessed. It can change, it can stay the same. I will say, I will make my claim. Hell, 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 hell. We are in at this time neither a good one nor is it so unblessed. It can change, it can stay the same. I will say, I will make my claim. Hell, 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 hell.
Yeah, let's hear another round of applause for Eric and everybody else. Seriously, they made that look easy. That song is a lot harder than they made it sound.
I implore you all to try to follow along with the lyrics in this song because they're kind of all over the place. Really don't mind if you sing this one out. Whisper your weakness, a shout. I may make you feel, but I can't make you think. Your sperm's in the gutter, your love's in the sink. So you ride yourselves over fields and you make all your animal deals, and your wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick. And the sandcastle virtues are all swept away in the tidal destruction, the moral malay. Retreat brings the close of play as the last wave uncovers the newfangled way. But your new shoes are worn at the heels, and your suntan is rapidly healed, and your wise men don't know how it feels as a brick. The love that I feel, it's so far away. I'm a bad dream that I just had today. Say it's a shame. Spin me back down the years and the days of my youth. Draw the lace and black curtains, shut out the whole truth. Spin me down the long ages, let them sing the song. Himself in the night. ride yourselves over the fields, and you make all your animal deals, and your wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick.
Oh, the pedal shut off. No. Okay, well, we're not going to use that socket anymore. Okay, I mentioned earlier that there are like this 5 or 6.
Can you tell me where my country lies? Said the uniform to his true love's eyes. It lies